भाजो वंदे गुरश्री चरणरविंदम संसारदावानललीलोका प्राणाय कारुण्य घनाघनत्यं सकलगुणार्णवश वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधननितनाना सिंहारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादौ श्रीविग्रहाराधननितनाना सिंहारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादौ युक्तश्च भक्तांश्च निजुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् युक्तश्च भक्तांश्च निजुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् संसारदावानललीलोक प्राणाय कारुण्य घनाघनत्यं भक्तस्य कल्याणगुणार्णवश वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् चतुर्विधासी भगवत्प्रसाद सर्वान्नचित्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् चतुर्विधासी भगवत्प्रसाद सर्वान्नचित्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् तृप्तैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव तृप्तैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नां श्रीराधिका माधवयरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नां प्रतीक्षण साधनलोपश्च प्रतीक्षण साधनलोपश्च वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दम् संसारदावानललीलोक प्राणाय कारुण्य घनाघनत्यम्.
In the evening will be again Jagannath pastime. That's Saturday the 11th evening. And Sunday the 12th will be the 4th anniversary celebration of our temple here, since our temple would have inaugurated for 2016. So 4 years ago we inaugurated the temple. So we will have again a virtual celebration in honoring the 4th anniversary of the temple. So that program will also be aired on Facebook and Zoom. So Maharaj are there. Maharaj, we already introduced you. Welcome to Guyana through the grace of Zoom. Thank you very much to accept our invitation and to give us your virtual association, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Topic is interesting for all of us. Opportunities in adversity. Definitely, we were saying earlier that there is world pandemic. There is lots of adversity throughout this whole year. There have been many adversity. Guyana have been no exception. In fact, Guyana have been exception because we have COVID-19 and we have election virus been going on for the last 3.5 months. Till now, we haven't got a result for our national and regional election, general and regional elections. So there have been a lot of issues, a lot of hiccups in people's mind. Even devotees are being affected. So we hope with your lecture this morning and some question and answer will help us to appreciate what are happening in the world, that we can still see opportunities. So over to your holiness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in Guyana and not be in Guyana. Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. To be electronically in Guyana, but not physically. So I thank you for this opportunity to try to offer some service to the devotees of the Guyana Yatra. First, I'll just chant a couple of minutes, Jaya Radha Madhava, and then we'll begin. So anyone who's on the Zoom, especially, can mute their microphone because the chanting, because of the different speeds of the internet, it never comes out uniformly. It's always like one is ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, we did Jaya Radha Madhava just before you came in. So if you want to do some prayers,
okay.
You can do invocation prayers and you can go right ahead.
Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Mahyam Darati Shva Patantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Paschatya Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha krita sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So to introduce this subject matter, I would like to read from Bhagavad Gita, the verse, 2nd chapter, text number 56, which I find of all texts in Bhagavad Gita describes the best way that we can find good fortune in everything that happens in our life. So I'll read the verse, I'll just read it, and then the translation, and then Srila Prabhupada's purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tu keshvanudvigna mana sukeshu vikatas priyaha vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadir munir uchate. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So everyone can repeat together with me. We'll just say it straight through. Everyone can please repeat. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Purport. The word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a muni differs from other munis, he cannot be called a muni in the strict sense of the word, of the term. Nashavishu yasyamatam nabinam, from Mahabharata, a famous verse actually from Mahabharata, just commenting that, because this verse concludes Mahajana Kata Sapanta, that the real way to understand the absolute truth is by following the Mahajan, or the pure devotee of the Lord. But a Stita Dir Muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary muni. So also, just to elaborate on that point, just like in India, maybe even, I think even in Guyana, Trinidad, other places with a large Indian population, they say Prasad. But Prasad means Durga Prasad, Shiva Prasad, Ganesh Prasad, or Krishna Prasad. So we, as Vaishnavas, we want to take Krishna Prasad. Of course, in Jagannath Puri, we take Bimala Prasad. And of course, Bimala Prasad became Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But because Lord Jagannath, his prasadam is given to Bimala Devi, because when Lord Shiva received Mahaprasadam from Sri Narad Muni, he immediately took it. There was only one small piece that was stuck on the fingernail of Narada Muni. And of course, Lord Shiva, one would ordinarily not offer Lord Shiva a remnant stuck on your fingernail. But because it was Mahaprasadam, he eagerly and practically forced Narada Muni to give it to him. And when he took it, he became so ecstatic that the three worlds began to tremble by his dancing. And Parvati came and said, "Why are you so elated? What's happening? Why are you so active, dancing like a madman?" And he said, "I just received Mahaprasadam of Lord Vishnu." And Parvati said, "You call me your better half, but you didn't give me any remnant." And then she prayed to the Lord that, "Please allow me to give you remnants." And the Lord spoke to her, saying, "In the future," meaning when Lord Jagannath appears, "you will receive all of my prasadam. All of my Mahaprasadam will go to you, and then will be distributed to everyone else." So, but a devotee is strictly interested in Krishna Prasad. And here, a muni, as Srila Prabhupada says, means the modern day definition of a philosopher. Otherwise, someone who takes little bits and pieces of different philosophies and then adds in their own interpretation. And that is a muni. But a Stitadir Muni is different from an ordinary muni. So Srila Prabhupada, continuing the purport, the Stitadir Muni is always Krishna conscious, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. Now, Srila Prabhupada has said that philosophical speculation, when there is no clear indication from Shastra, is allowed. Otherwise, devotees can engage in such speculation, meaning different devotees offering their realization of something that is not fully clear, and then the devotees, based on their Shastric understandings, will come to the proper conclusion. Now, that's the only type of speculation. But here we're talking about, so Srila Prabhupada terms it creative speculation. He is called Prashanta Nishesha Mano Ratantara, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna, or Vasudeva, is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sarmahatma Sadurlabha. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord. He has come thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds, and he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is only due to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means to accept things for one's own sense gratification. And detachment means it is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the first point I would like to make is that the idea of adversity or the idea of opportunity is very different on the spiritual platform than it is on the material platform. Because as we see at the end of the purport that we just read, Srila Prabhupada says a devotee is not attached or detached. This is also explained by Krishna at the end of the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that a devotee is not disturbed or is not elated or is not attached to anything that happens in their life. They're simply attached to pleasing Krishna. And so the idea of opportunity or the idea of something being adverse is very relative. Even we can take the simple example of a child. When a child is punished, from the child's point of perception, the relative point of view of the child, this is an adverse situation. But for the father or the mother who's chastising, it is a favorable situation to bring the child to proper behavior or proper understanding of things. So, as Srila Prabhupada said so many times, that the living entity in this material world always wants to enjoy the senses. And this is from a devotee's point of view, from a Bhagavatam point of view, from Bhagavad Gita point of view, trying to enjoy our senses, which we interpret as opportunity, is actually adversity, because it is taking us away from Krishna. It is separating us from Krishna. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Mayi sarvami karmani sanyasya dhyatma chatasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva bhikata jvara. So basically Krishna is saying that if one wants to be successful in spiritual life, one should give up those things which are adverse to one's spiritual progress. So for a devotee, adversity means that which will hinder my spiritual advancement, my spiritual growth. Krishna says, nirashir, nirmamo. These two things, nirashir, one should be free from desires that come from the senses, that are born from the senses. Why? Those desires are natural, but in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that kamasya nindriya pratir, that one should accept those things which are favorable to maintaining the soul and the body together. That degree of sense gratification is very necessary. And there's another degree above that, which is the personal situation that we encounter ourselves in, meaning that we have to have an environment that is conducive to our spiritual growth. Meaning psychologically. Many times I've given the example of Srila Prabhupada, that when Srila Prabhupada, one time, a good friend of mine, one of my godbrothers, he was in London with Srila Prabhupada, and of course he was a junior devotee. He wasn't like part of the sannyas group or the GBC group or the servants, but he was there, and so he thought, I want Srila Prabhupada to see that I'm chanting nicely. So he thought, let me pace back and forth by Prabhupada's window. And then Srila Prabhupada will be, he'll see me chanting and maybe he'll say something to me about my chanting. He was thinking like that. So he was chanting back and forth. Prabhupada opened the window and he was thinking inside, waiting for those words of praise. That, oh, you're chanting so nicely. But Prabhupada said, there are so many places to chant here in Bhaktivedanta manner. Please find one of them. So the point is that we may see something as an opportunity, but for someone else, psychologically, it was an adversity, because Srila Prabhupada was translating or was speaking to someone, and some devotee chanting outside, Hare Krishna, was a disturbance. So chanting is very wonderful, but it can be psychologically anything that disturbed Srila Prabhupada. And one of the things that disturbed him more than anything else was a door slamming. If somebody left the door open when there's a breeze or something and the door slammed, Prabhupada would become very disturbed. So the point is, he's a pure devotee. He is descended from Vaikuntha. But we need a certain psychological environment so that we can peacefully perform devotional service. Of course, up to a certain point, meaning that it should increase our bhakti. If looking for some psychological comfort decreases bhakti, then it becomes sense gratification. But if some psychological or physical comfort increases our bhakti, increases our devotional service because we're more enlivened, we're more capable, we're more energetic, then it becomes very favorable. So the whole point here is that how can we see opportunity and adversity? So from a devotional point of view, from the point of view of bhakti, adversity means that which takes us away from Krishna. And opportunity means that which brings us together with Krishna. Sri Sanatana Goswami gives an example from Srimad Bhagavatam that when Brahma stole the cowherd boys, or actually stole illusory forms of the cowherd boys, because the actual cowherd boys entered into the body of Krishna. Krishna protected them within himself, and he manifested Mayic forms of them, which were hidden away by Brahma. But anyway, those are technicalities. The point is that after that whole incident, Brahma prayed to Krishna, please forgive him, and Krishna forgave him externally. But there was something that wasn't quite complete, and therefore Brahma had to approach the Lord in the form of, when Lord Chaitanya appeared to him when he was meditating in Antardvip, then he said, my Lord, I offended you so badly because I separated you from your devotees. So therefore, please let me take birth again as your swerving, completely surrendered servant, which he did in the form of Sri Haridas Thakur. But Indra, even though he tried to kill the Brahmins, he tried to subdue Krishna, he was willing to kill the cows, and such horrible things. Krishna, from his point of view, he saw it as favorable, because Indra, by his actions, brought all Krishna and his devotees together, where Brahma, even though his offense, his external activity, was much less, because he separated Krishna from his devotees, or tried to do so, because nobody can actually do it, but he tried to do so. So his offense was, from Krishna's point of view, was greater. So the dynamics of the spiritual world are very different. Just like I always mention the fact that in the material world, you can attain 100% of something. More than 100% of anything you can't really obtain. But in the spiritual world, everything begins from 100%. So therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 3:30 that Nirashir, one should be free from the desires that connect you with the objects of the senses. And Nirmamo, one should be free from the sense of possessiveness. This is mine. And Nirahankara, which is in another two verses, one should be free from false ego. And particularly, I wanted to point out in this verse of 3:30 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vikata Jwara, which literally means to stop the fever. So stopping the fever, Srila Prabhupada translates that as lethargy, to give up lethargy. Now, how can fever, generally in fever, you're very active, but also an intense fever makes you very, very, you can't move, you can't do anything. So in that sense, it's lethargy. But in another sense, being too active materially means spiritual lethargy. Otherwise, it means that spiritually, we are ignoring our real duty, but we're very active on the material platform. But spiritually, we're ignoring our duty. And therefore, the idea, just like Sri Narottam Das Thakur says, Samsara Vishanale Divani Shihi Vajwale. He says that day and night, I'm immersed in sense gratification and I'm very active. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada explained this verse in this way, that day and night, I'm very active materially, but spiritually, I'm not doing anything. Spiritually, this material fever. And of course, Queen Kunti also says, Jamaishvara Shuta Shrivir Edamana Madapumam, that the wealth, excessive wealth in this material world, or utilizing wealth improperly, good reputation, good education, beautiful characteristics or qualities, all these things can be used in Krishna's service, but they very frequently result in increasing the fever of material existence. So therefore, they should be avoided. And so Krishna says, avoid the fever of material existence and just become a pure devotee of the Lord. So I wanted to explain that point as my first point, and then give some examples of how not only what we see, just like Prabhupada Prabhu introduced and said, here in Guyana, we've had our share of adversity. And generally we see things that way. If the economy goes down, it's an adversity. If the politics are not satisfying for one's personal endeavors, that is seen as an adversity, personal adversity, although those politics may be very beneficial materially for someone else. And if the social situation, just like sometimes in Guyana, Trinidad, and different countries, even in Mauritius, There's tension between the descendants of the Indians, the descendants of Africa, the descendants of this one or that one, in many countries, in the US also. I don't know if the news in Guyana has carried it, but so many riots and problems based on racial differences. So I was speaking to some devotees about this who said this is a very prominent thing in South Africa, and this racial difference. So I said the way that we can preach beyond, we have to go beyond this and say we are so racially, we see everything equally racially, to the point where we don't even limit our racial equality to the human race, but to all races. We say all species of life have the opportunity to live. So from a materialist point of view, this is an adversity, because then they would have to stop their slaughterhouses, stop their mistreatment or their feeling of superiority over other species of life. When actually, from a Vaishnava point of view, from a Vedic point of view, our responsibility, even in the Christian Bible, it says that man has dominion over the animals. But dominion doesn't mean exploitation. Dominion in Vedic terms means responsibility. Just like a person has dominion over his family, his children, that doesn't mean that he eats them. It means that he takes care of them, he serves them. So dominion over the senses, which is the basic point of Vedic teaching, sometimes we may see that as an adversity, a difficult thing to accomplish. But from a devotional point of view, the senses, actually, Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says that the senses are like venomous snakes, but when you have Krishna consciousness, otherwise, when you're not a slave of the senses, like Rupa Goswami says, Kamadina katina katina palita durnidesha jatamayi tesham jatamayi nakaruna natrapa nopashanti. He says, I have been a slave to my senses for endless time, serving them faithfully, but they have no mercy, they have no consideration, and they never leave me alone. 24 hours, always demanding so one thing after another. But now that I've met this wonderful person, Krishna, all my fear, all my anxiety, all my problems have gone away by serving him rather than serving my senses, now that my intelligence has woken up. So this idea of not serving the senses is seen by a materialistic person as an adversity. As Srila Prabhupada gave the example many times of his godbrother, Ban Maharaj, who, when he went to England, there was one viceroy who had been in India, who had spent a lot of time. He appreciated the Vedic culture. So when Ban Maharaj came to visit him, he was I think it was the viceroy of Shetland. So Ban Maharaj came to visit him because he was a contact, trying to get the preaching going in the West. And so he said, Swamiji, please, can you give me Brahmin initiation? I want to be a Brahmin. I understand this is a platform for giving knowledge. So he said, yes, no problem. He said, well, what do I have to do? And Swamiji said, or Ban Maharaj said, you just have to follow these 4 regulated principles. And he said, impossible. I can't do that. I remember one man many years ago, he asked me, so what are your rules? And I said, well, we chant the holy name of God. And he said, yeah, okay, but what is it you can't do? Oh, well, we have 4 regulated principles. And I spoke them. And he said, what can you do? Otherwise, for him, breaking these 4 regulated principles was his life. So he saw what we're doing as an adversity. So the real adversity, when we look at the Bhagavatam, we look all through the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find that every devotee, practically speaking, every devotee's devotional service was enhanced by adversity, by what would be seen as adversity, but they converted it. A devotee's ability is to convert an apparent adverse situation into something that is very favorable for Krishna consciousness. Just like Rantidev, King Rantidev, he was totally dedicated. He was the personification of Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastini, of seeing all living entities, the cow, the Brahman, the elephant, the dog eater, seeing them all with equal vision. Samapandita Darshan, equal vision. So he had that vision, and he fasted one time for 48 days without water. Now we can just imagine, we fast for a few hours without water and we feel difficulty. When we have to fast the whole day without water, we feel extreme difficulty. So he fasted 48 days. And then he was given some water and some foodstuffs made from milk and ghee. And just as he was sitting down with his family to take the remnants, to take these foodstuffs, after 48 days of fasting. It doesn't mention in the Bhagavatam that the family fasted, but I don't think they did. But they were fasting to some degree, maybe not to the same degree. So they all sat down. And this was a common practice. This is just one time, one incident. So Rantidev, then a Brahmin came and said, "Oh, I'm hungry, my dear king, can you give me something?" And he gave him half of everything that was there. And then he sat down again. He offered his obeisances to the Brahmin. And then a Shudra came and asked for foodstuffs. So Rantidev distributed half of what he had to his family because he didn't want his family to suffer. And he gave half of his portion to the Shudra. And then he sat down again to eat what little tiny bit remained. And along came a man, a dog keeper, a man with many dogs. And he said, "My dear king, I am very hungry and my dogs are hungry." So he gave all the rest to the man and his dogs. He had nothing. He just had a glass of water. And so it was just enough water for one person. And he took that glass of water, and then a Chandal came. And he said, "My dear king, I am so thirsty. Can you spare some water?" And so Rantidev said, "Now I may die, but if I can serve this Chandal with great, and it will be a great honor and a great privilege to be able to," because he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity. Of course, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that he wasn't a Mayavadi. He didn't see Krishna. He saw Krishna everywhere, but he didn't see everyone as Krishna, but everyone as a servant of Krishna. As Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says, that Vishwapurnam Sukhayate, I only see beauty within the whole universe. And why does he only see beauty within the universe? As Krishna says, Iyatamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanuvartante manushapartha sarvashaha. That manusha partha sarvashaha. Everyone, mama vartmanuvartante. Everyone follows my path. Everyone follows the path of devotional service. Everyone follows the path of either Yoga Maya or Mahamaya. Nobody can escape. Therefore, everyone is following Krishna. Everyone is serving Krishna. And the ability to serve Krishna is what we have to work on. Otherwise, my desire to serve Krishna, to satisfy Krishna, to please Krishna, this is the only thing for a devotee. And so Rantidev, he had this realization that everything is meant for the service of the Lord. Just like Krishna himself states, that so that Bhoktaram Jagi Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suriram Sarvabhutanam, that these three things will create peace. But peace is not a natural condition in this material world. In the material world, you go out, just especially in tropical places like Guyana, go out in the morning, sand fleas, mosquitoes, not like it's all very peaceful, but there's sand fleas and mosquitoes and heat and all kinds of different situations which are not peaceful. And then there's the people, somebody driving by with their full blast music, one disturbance after another. But a devotee becomes peaceful like Arjuna, even in the most adverse, difficult situation. Just like when Arjuna and Duryodhana had the opportunity to recruit either Krishna or his army. So whoever got there first would be the one who could choose. So Duryodhana, through various tricks, although Arjuna was superior to him in every way, but through tricks, he got there first. But what did he do? He stood behind Krishna's head. And Arjuna got there just second after, but he immediately went to Krishna's feet. So then Krishna said, so one of you can have my army and one of you can have me, and I won't fight. And then Duryodhana thought, I got here first. But Krishna said, no, actually, Arjuna, I saw him first because he came by my feet. I didn't see you arrive. So therefore, Arjuna, it's your choice. So Duryodhana was in anxiety. He's going to take the army and leave me with Krishna, who is impotent. He's just not just going to be a chariot driver. Krishna is a good fighter. But immediately Arjuna said, Krishna. I want Krishna. And Duryodhana was so happy. Arjuna, what a fool. His blind friendship with Krishna has led him to defeat. And he said, I'll take the army. And so, but Arjuna was satisfied. But then by Krishna's arrangement, by Yoga Maya, he saw the whole scene before him, all the soldiers and everything being, and he went into anxiety. This was a great adversity. But actually there was no adversity, which he realized before when he made his choice of Krishna. He understood that there's no adversity here because Krishna's on my side. But by Yoga Maya, he was influenced to feel that way. And Krishna immediately revealed through the Bhagavad Gita that there is no adversity here. Because I am in control, especially in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I want you to be nirmitta matram. I want you to be my instrument. Because by my will, everything is already decided, everything is already determined. There's no question of everyone will be defeated, which he displayed in his universal form. And he informed Arjuna, but you have the opportunity to be my instrument. And so Arjuna became enlightened, and Arjuna fought very enthusiastically. So Bhagavad Gita is the instrument by which we can convert any situation into a situation of opportunity, just as Arjuna did. So, I mean, can just everyone can think about what are the adversities? What is my problem? I'm not making enough money. Some family situation that is not not the best, or some condition of life, or my neighbors play music until 12 o'clock at midnight and I can't sleep. Otherwise, these are our big adversities. And just compare our adversity to Arjuna's adversity. But Arjuna never saw it he saw it apparently as an adversity. But even from the very beginning, he stated that Shashasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapanam. My dear Krishna, I only see adversity, and therefore I am becoming your disciple. I'm your student, a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So even though he was seeing adversity, he knew that this adversity can be converted into opportunity by surrendering to Shishyaste, by becoming Krishna's devotee, disciple, Shadimam Tvam Prapanam, by hearing from him and by surrendering to him. He understood this. And so this is how we can convert difficult situations into opportunity. There was one situation which I always remember in the Bhagavatam, and that is the situation of Parikshit Maharaj. I many times mentioned this, that Parikshit Maharaj, when he was the king, he had an empire, he had a treasury, he had followers, he had all kinds of opulence. And then when he got cursed, he said, in the Bhagavatam it says, he was so happy. He thought, now I can give up this kingdom, now I can give up all this wealth, all this treasury, all this burden of responsibility, of external responsibility, and I can surrender to Krishna. Just like Srila Prabhupada, when by circumstance, his wife, at least he suspected that his wife had thrown away his manuscript of Bhagavad Gita. So he confronted her. He said, do you want me or do you want tea? Now that may not have been his exact and complete statement, but basically she said tea. Otherwise, I want my comfortable material life. I want you to work hard for me so that we can enjoy our senses in a pious way, of course. She was a Vaishnavi, but not a very, Srila Prabhupada says in one purport that Krishna personally intervenes in the life of his pure devotees, but not ordinary devotees. So she was an ordinary devotee, and Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee. So by circumstance, Srila Prabhupada realized that now I can give all this up. In the beginning, when he had his dreams coming from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that he should take sannyas, he thought, oh, horrible, who will cook for me? How will I? But he was accustomed, by Yoga Maya, he was accustomed to material life, meaning pious life, but still external life. And now he had the opportunity to fulfill the order of his spiritual master, which meant so many apparent difficulties. Taking sannyas, living in austere circumstances, all these things. But Srila Prabhupada saw this as opportunity, an opportunity to do the most important thing in life, which is to fulfill the instruction of my Guru Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj, he felt this way. And then Samikya Muni found out about what had happened. He was in deep meditation. When he came out of his meditation, he found the snake, he took it off, he inquired, and then he understood what had happened and that his son had cursed Parikshit Maharaj. So he immediately went to his son and he said, you're a fool. He is the greatest of all kings. When Parikshit Maharaj was born, he was labeled as Maha Bhagavata Mahan. He's not a Maha Bhagavata, he's a Maha Bhagavata. So you have committed such a great offense. He's, you foolish boy. But what can we expect from a foolish boy? But then he was thinking to himself, what can I do? What can I do to counteract the reaction that my son will get? I may get a reaction, I can accept that. But my son, he's just a boy. The reaction of offending a devotee like Parikshit Maharaj, no, just like Haridas Thakur, when he was offended by being condemned to death, actually, by being beaten in 22 marketplaces, after he was beaten and thrown into the river, and he came out of the river, he thought the Brahmins who saw him afterwards, they said, Haridas, we cannot believe that these people did this to you. And Haridas said, no. Actually, it was the Lord's mercy that I was beaten. I heard offenses against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, this is my purification. So he saw, who could think of a greater adversity, even greater than Arjuna's, because Arjuna was not, being punished physically, but he was beaten and beaten and beaten. But the Lord took away all the pain and difficulty. But Haridas afterwards, or Prahlad Maharaj afterwards, he thought of the benefit for the Kazi, or Prahlad Maharaj thought about the benefit for his father. Such ability to convert things. But so Parikshit Maharaj, he didn't do anything. He himself thought, I could counteract this curse, but I have to accept the will of the Lord. And Samikya Muni, he thought, he recited a verse within, I don't know if he said it to himself or he said it to his son, but that verse, Tiraskita Vipralabdha, Shapta Shipta Hatha Iva, Nasya Tat Patikurvanti, Tad Bhakta Prabhavo Hi. That he said, the devotees, I wish that Parikshit Maharaj would curse my son, because by that curse, my son's grave offense will be nullified. But he won't do that, because a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, even if he's, they're so tolerant, they're so Krishna conscious, even if they're defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they have no inclination to counteract that to take any type of revenge. They're so dedicated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotees of the Lord. So this is an extreme example of converting. Parikshit Maharaj could have done everything. Prabhupada said many times, he could have counteracted the curse, he could have cursed the boy, but he thought, this is an opportunity. Now I can give up all these troublesome things. Most of us are trying to acquire, I would like to have a palace. I would love to have a treasury. I would love to have, all these facilities. We're hankering for them. Sometimes we spend our whole life hankering and struggling to get these material things. But Parikshit Maharaj was thinking, finally I can give all this up. Of course, material nature is structured in such a way that especially a devotee will come to that conclusion at some point if they follow the process properly, just by the nature of human relations. Although we may feel great attachment, but we also feel the difficulties of human relationships in the material atmosphere. Of course, those relationships can be very wonderful if we're chanting properly, if we're hearing properly, if we're serving Krishna properly. They can be very wonderful. But generally speaking, Krishna arranges that there's just enough, as is said in this purport, in the verse that we read, just enough misery. Krishna just gives the devotee just enough difficulty or misery or problem to understand, I'm not a resident of this material world. I don't belong here. This is not my place. This is a place of service. Just like sometimes, or a devotee on Sankirtan will go into the material atmosphere to distribute books. And although the devotee remains on the transcendental platform, or we go to do a Hari Nam, and sometimes in some places, people are not so favorable. They don't want to hear us, but we go. but we always come back. So being put into these difficult circumstances, Krishna just gives enough difficulty that we understand that I'm not part of this material world, but the main portion of the reaction, Krishna takes it away. Krishna diminishes it just enough to remember. And whenever there is material facility, a devotee sees an opportunity to become detached. Because for this formula to work, where we can always see in every adversity an opportunity to serve Krishna, an opportunity to advance spiritually, an opportunity to serve the Vaishnavas, an opportunity to serve the deity, they will require some degree of sacrifice. But the greatest sacrifice that one can make is giving up the or understanding that materially favorable conditions are not a reward for our devotional service. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns us that if we see that now, before I was struggling, but now I've got more favorable material circumstances. Thank you, Krishna. I've done so much service and you're finally rewarding me. He said, this is the greatest danger in devotional service. We should not see that an opportunity to be happy in this material world is a reward. We should see it as an opportunity to perform more service for Krishna. And when there's difficulty, we see it as an opportunity to internalize, to increase our chanting, to increase our understanding, to hear more, so that we can see what's happening to me as Krishna's mercy. And therefore, and I think I'll conclude with this famous verse, which many of us know, Tate nukampam susamikshamana, that munjana evat kritam pitpakam, that a devotee, what is their vision? How are they able to see everything as an opportunity? Because anukampam, they see that everything is happening in my life because I am surrendering to Krishna. I may not be fully surrendered, but I'm in the process of surrendering to Krishna. And therefore, every opportunity, every possibility that I get in life, or everything that happens to me, anukampa sumikshamana, I see it as Krishna's mercy, and therefore I patiently allow that mercy to manifest in whatever form it may be, understanding. And how do we develop that consciousness? So the Bhagavatam tells us, Eva Atmakrita. We see that I am the author of everything that's happening in my life. I created this circumstance. I created this apparent adversity. And only by understanding that Krishna is the supreme controller and putting my life in his hands and accepting his mercy, just like a good son or a good child accepts the chastisement of the father or the mother. And therefore, I can, because I can see things this way, I can see that I'm the cause, I can understand that Krishna is giving me the solution. And how can we maintain this understanding? Hridbhag Vakubir Vidatan Namaste. With our heart, or our very essence, with our words, with our actions, with our thoughts, offer obeisances at every moment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jivyet ye mukti pada sadhaya bhak. And in that way, we become the recipients of the Lord's mercy. We become the recipients of everything that the Lord wants to give us. By dedicating ourselves, our thoughts, our words, our actions, everything to the service of the Lord, we become his faithful servants. So these are some thoughts on this particular topic. I'll stop here and see if there's any questions, anything that I can possibly answer, any questions on this subject.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation this morning, and I am surprised that the level that you took it. Nevertheless, you give both sides, and you maintain the devotees, see beyond. However, a question came there to me that as someone trying to practice devotional service in the line of Krishna consciousness, I see that it is easy for me to tolerate so many things that is happening in the material world, like some of the things that you mentioned. Even in the midst of a world pandemic, it is, easy for us to tolerate or to even overcome or to let's say, live with, coexist and to live with. However, I find it difficult that within the association of devotees, whenever difficulties comes from another devotee in the association, I find that, after many, many years, I cannot get that over. It still affects me. So I don't know if you can say something on that.
Yes, that's a very good question, because we, generally speaking, our psychological condition, we expect that the association of devotees will be always something very pleasurable. And it is, because as Rupa Goswami instructs us, if a devotee is not behaving properly, then we respect them within the mind. If a devotee is engaged in devotional service, we perform devotional service together with them. And if they're very advanced devotees, we serve them. But the majority, I was making this point yesterday, that the majority of the devotees are neophytes. And the tendency of the neophyte devotee, he must do this. It's not that he may do this. The tendency of a neophyte devotee is that they will be faithful to the guru, unless the guru gives an instruction which is just too difficult to just like many times I go somewhere and certain people don't show up, and of course I know what they're going through, and I know that they don't want any instruction or any indication at that point in time. But generally speaking, we expect other devotees to be perfect. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, the formula is be very tolerant with others and very strict with yourself. But our tendency is to be very strict with others and very tolerant with ourselves. So the way to give that up, and the way is to understand that, as Srila Prabhupada said, don't be angry at the instrument of your karma. That if we always remember this my last point, my concluding point, that eva atma krita, that everything that's happening in my life, whether it comes from a devotee, it comes from a bird, it comes from a virus, or whatever, wherever it comes from, I created the circumstance. And especially if it comes from a devotee, we should see this is a special opportunity, because this is a Vaishnava, and Rupa Goswami says we should always respect them, even if they're somewhat disturbing. He doesn't say always respect devotees who act in a perfect way. He says always respect every devotee, at least within the mind. So if we respect someone in the mind, how can we be disturbed by them? So we have to understand that who is disturbing me? I'm disturbing myself, because I'm not remembering, because I can't remember past lives, or I can't remember so many things that I did wrong. But I can remember, I can understand that I did something, and therefore Krishna has put me in this situation, put me in this condition. And he especially is utilizing a devotee as the instrument so that I can respond in the proper way, that I can go beyond my feelings of anger, just like here in the verse that we said, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. I have to go beyond anger, I have to go beyond fear and anxiety, and I have to go beyond attachment. And to be a devotee properly situated. So a devotee has to be in a constant remembrance of what Krishna is instructing us, what Lord Brahma, what all the great devotees, all these examples, and then we can overcome these things. So the best way, I always tell devotees, you have to meditate on this point, that no one is doing anything to you. You are doing everything to yourself. They are instruments. And even sometimes an instrument has to be punished. I remember in Guyana, when I came with Mahatma Prabhu to do many years ago, some of you may remember, to do the seminar on forgiveness. And one of the examples he gave was a lady whose son was killed by a boy. And in the courtroom, she stood up and she said that, personally, I forgive him for what he did. But now I'm very happy that he's being punished, because what he did was improper from an external point of view. I forgive him. So sometimes somebody may disturb us, and we may have to seek justice, because that disturbance interferes with my devotional service, interferes with my God-given right to serve Krishna or to be a devotee of the Lord. But if it disturbs my false ego, then I should not be disturbed. I should be grateful that devotee, because some devotees are expert instruments for tolerance, for humility. They're like professional givers or providers of circumstances for tolerance and forgiveness. And that's how I see it. A devotee, Krishna uses a devotee for another devotee so that the devotee can have the proper vision and remember things in the proper way. I see there's a question here on the chat, from Radha Ballabha Prabhu. Sometimes we engage in service. We get a little caught in self-aggrandizement. How can we protect ourselves from such a disturbing mood and attitude? And sometimes I say that one has to be very careful not to be proud of his humility. Otherwise, once we think, oh, I'm so humble, then we become a victim of being proud of my humility. So the best way to do that is to always give credit to Krishna. As I mentioned, Bhaktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Always remember that everything belongs to Krishna, that Krishna is the ability in all of us, and Krishna therefore gives us an ability to take something that already belongs to him and offer it to him as an example for others of what they should do. So that way we can avoid self-aggrandizement. And of course, as Krishna warns us, and we saw in this very purport, at the very end, the very last line of this purport, it says, success or no success. A devotee is not attached to the result. A devotee is attached to doing his utmost best at pleasing Krishna, whether the effort is successful or a failure. As Srila Prabhupada says in another place, it's always a success if you give everything you possibly can, your greatest effort to pleasing Krishna, then it becomes a success. And so this helps us to overcome the tendency, because Krishna likes to be glorified. That's one of his characteristics. He must be glorified. And because he must be glorified and we're part and parcel of him, we also have the tendency to want to be glorified or to be recognized. So we should want to be recognized by Krishna. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, don't try to see Krishna, try to have Krishna see you, see what you're doing. And therefore, we should act in that way. And that avoids self-aggrandizement, but rather the desire to please Krishna. And that I want, but I should feel that pleasure. And that should be my pride. I'm proud that to be Krishna's devotee. I'm proud that Krishna has been satisfied by my activity. Not that I'm proud of myself, but I'm proud that Krishna has put me in this circumstance and allowed me to serve him and please him. So here's another question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, we have Nityangi Mataji raise her hand there. We can take her question now, and we will take one more question.
I would, she asked many questions. She's a wonderful devotee. She asked, I would just wanted to give people who normally I don't get a chance to answer their question first.
Okay, so we have Radha Govinda Mataji from Panama.
Okay.
We have a question on Facebook. Hari Kirtan will read out her question.
The question is as follows. Nowadays, there's so much push to see everyone with equal vision, but in the Vedic teachings exists the caste system which divides people. Does an equal vision mean seeing everyone as spiritual souls, but make distinction on the bodily platform?
Yes, that's. I think the question is answered in the question. That equal vision means to see everyone equally on the internal platform. But as Srila Prabhupada said, you don't embrace the tiger. So we may see a tiger as spirit soul, and we understand that the tiger, there's no difference between me and the tiger. Or we may see a cockroach on the floor, and it's not that we go up and embrace the cockroach, grab him and start kissing him and embracing him. We understand he's a spirit soul, but the activity of that spirit soul within the modes of material nature may be very disturbing. I may want to avoid. Definitely we want to avoid tigers. Actually, one time I was in Costa Rica chanting japa around 5:30 in the morning. I came around the corner and there was a tiger walking down the sidewalk. So definitely I didn't embrace him. I kind of turned around carefully and went back around the corner, and the tiger just kept going, which I was very happy to see. So yes, externally we see, therefore Lord Chaitanya, when he stood before Lord Jagannath on the Rath Yatra card, his last prayer was very instructive. He said, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not any of these Varnashram designations. I am the servant of the Lord of the Gopis. So what was he saying? He's saying in external society, there are so many differences. We cannot see equally. Men and women are not equal in their abilities or their bodily construction. One person and another is not equal to one another on the external platform. Even on the internal platform, in one sense, we're equal because we're all spirit souls, but we're not equal because every soul has unique characteristics. But we are equal because we're all part of Brahman, and there's Param Brahman and there's Brahman. There's the total spiritual energy, and there is Krishna, the supreme energetic, and we are little energetics. So, yes, that's. I think that Radha Govinda answered her own question by saying that, yes, externally, there are so many differences and we can't avoid seeing them, but our principal focus should be internal. We may have to act, just like I gave the example of internally forgiving, but externally looking for justice. So internally, the point is that there has to be justice. There have to be kshatriyas. There have to be administrators. But we should not think, I'm so happy that person was punished because they offended me. We should think, actually, that person didn't offend me. That person was simply uh, uh, responding to something that I did, but because their actions were inappropriate, I'm happy to see that proper justice was taken. So a devotee should see like that.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's almost time for our Artik here, and I still see there are many questions. I don't know what you would like us to do.
That depends on you. You're the leader.
Maharaj, I will go with, if you have a final message, advice for all the devotees this morning, and then we will close and go for Artik. We will forward those questions to you. Of course, Prishta Prabhu have them, so if somebody can respond to those devotees directly. So if you have a final message, any advice for us during this time before we close?
So I respond to them by, and then who will get them back to the devotees?
We have the contact for all the devotees, Maharaj. We have the contact for all the devotees, so we can forward it to them.
Okay, so I will answer the questions that didn't get answered, and I'm sorry if I extended myself too much, but
no, Maharaj, it's okay.
But in any case, okay, I will take all the questions. If there's any more questions, Prashta can send them to me, and then I will I'll answer them within the next hour or so, and then the answer can get back to the devotee.
Any final advice for us, Maharaj, that you would like to, any final message you want to give us this morning?
Well, just, I think you're all doing very wonderful service. I'm always very happy to visit Guyana, even though I don't get to do so often. And the final message is, whether it be COVID, whether it be a devotee, or whatever it is, we'll be happy in our Krishna consciousness. We'll be peaceful in our Krishna consciousness if we see all of these things as instruments of Krishna's will, and by our intelligence understand how to respond to them properly. The intelligence that Krishna gives us in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and through his representatives, Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your wonderful presentation this morning, and also to take the time to go through the questions with us. And we're sorry, I apologize to the other devotees that we didn't get to give attention to your question at this time, but Maharaj will be responding to your questions, and we will forward those answers to you. Thank you all very much who would have joined us on Zoom, on Facebook, wherever you are. It was wonderful this morning to have you have your association, your virtual association with us. Many of the persons and the families, we can only see their names there, but we know that the families are all tuning in. So continue, let us all continue in this way. We will close now with Maharaj's presentation, and we will go for the beautiful Artik ceremony to the Lordship, Shri Shri Paramakarna Nitai Gaurachandra. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Jai, reverencias Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, mis reverencias Guru.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.
संसारदावानलनिरलोकाम् तराय कारुण्य घनाघनत्यम् प्राप्त सकलन गुणार्णवशा वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्य गीता बाधित्रमाद्यन्मन सोरसेना रोमाञ्चकं पाशुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् संसारदावानलनिरलोका प्राणाय कारुण्य घनाघनत्यम् सकलनगुणार्णवश वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधननितनाना सिंहारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादौ श्रीविग्रहाराधननितनाना सिंहारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादौ युक्तश्च भक्तांश्च निजुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् युक्तश्च भक्तांश्च निजुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् संसारदावानलनिरलोका प्राणाय कारुण्य घनाघनत्यम् प्राप्त सकलनगुणार्णवश वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधासी भगवत्प्रसाद सर्वान्नचित्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् चतुर्विधासी भगवत्प्रसाद सर्वान्नचित्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् तृप्तैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव तृप्तैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् श्रीराधिका